She noticed the girl the moment she stepped through the tall glass doors, and the first thought that flashed through her mind was sharp and unkind. She might as well have worn bast shoes. The wealthy woman kept her smile perfectly polite, trained by decades of social events and business dinners, but inside she was already judging every detail. The simple dress, the lack of jewelry, the way the girl hesitated for half a second before taking another step, as if afraid to disturb the polished marble floor. This was the woman her son intended to marry. The girl stood close to him, fingers lightly touching his sleeve, not clinging, not possessive, just quietly present. That, strangely, irritated the mother even more. There was no desperation in her posture, no obvious attempt to impress. She looked around with open curiosity, her eyes lingering on paintings, on the wide staircase, on the light pouring in from the tall windows. Not envy, interest, as if this world were simply another place to learn, not a prize to conquer. The wealthy woman approached them, heels clicking softly, every step controlled. Her son's face brightened when he saw her, and he introduced the girl with a warmth that made his mother's stomach tighten. "So this is my mother," he said, proud, almost boyishly hopeful. The girl smiled. It wasn't rehearsed. It reached her eyes. "I'm very glad to finally meet you," she said, her voice calm, sincere. The mother returned the smile, cool and flawless. She kissed the air near the girl's cheek, already cataloging her flaws. Too plain. Too honest. Too real. This would never do. Dinner that evening was meant to be an introduction, but it quickly turned into the first test. The table was long, the dishes complex, the etiquette unforgiving. The wealthy woman asked questions that sounded harmless but were carefully chosen. "Did your parents travel much when you were growing up?" she asked lightly. "No," the girl replied without embarrassment. "We didn't have the money. But my mother loved books, so we traveled through them instead." A pause followed. The answer wasn't what the woman had expected. There was no apology in it, no attempt to hide the truth. The girl met her gaze steadily, not challenging, not submissive. Later came comments about education, about connections, about the importance of maintaining a certain image. Each remark was a thinly veiled reminder that the girl did not belong here. And yet, she listened politely, asked thoughtful questions, and never once tried to pretend she was something she wasn't. After dinner, when the girl excused herself to the restroom, the mother leaned toward her son. "You know," she said softly, "love is a wonderful thing. But marriage is practical." He frowned. "What are you trying to say?" "I'm saying this world can be cruel to those who aren't prepared for it." He straightened. "She's stronger than you think." The words stung more than the mother expected. Strength, in her mind, came from power, money, influence. Not from quiet endurance. In the days that followed, she escalated her efforts. She invited the girl to social events filled with people who measured worth by titles and last names. She made sure conversations revolved around investments, art auctions, private schools, topics designed to exclude. She watched closely, waiting for the girl to shrink. But she didn't. At one event, a woman with a diamond necklace asked, with a syrupy smile, where the girl bought her dress. The answer was simple. "I made it myself." There was laughter, soft, condescending, but the girl didn't blush. "I enjoy sewing," she added. "It helps me think." Someone else changed the subject, unsettled. The staff noticed too. The girl thanked them by name, helped clear plates when she thought no one important was watching, listened when the housekeeper spoke about her grandson. These small gestures spread quietly, like warmth through cold rooms. The wealthy woman grew increasingly frustrated. Her tactics were failing, and worse, people were starting to like the girl. So she chose a sharper weapon. One afternoon, she invited the girl for tea alone. The room was elegant, filled with pale light and expensive silence. She poured the tea herself, a gesture that looked kind but felt deliberate. "You must understand," she began, folding her hands, "I only want what's best for my son." "I know," the girl replied. "He has responsibilities, expectations, a future that was planned long before you appeared." The girl lowered her cup. "And does that future have room for happiness?" The question was gentle, but it landed hard. "Happiness comes and goes," the woman said. "Stability lasts." The girl considered this. "Where I come from, stability comes from people, not money." The mother leaned back, eyes narrowing slightly. People can disappoint you. So can money, the girl said, still calm. Silence stretched between them. Finally, the woman delivered her blow. She spoke of sacrifices, of how difficult life would be for someone like the girl. Of how cruel society could be. Of how easily love faded under pressure. She implied, without saying it outright, that stepping aside would be the noble thing to do. When she finished, she waited, for tears, anger, fear. Instead, the girl took a slow breath. I don't want to take anything from your son, she said. I want to build something with him. If that makes you my enemy, I'm sorry. But I won't leave because I'm afraid. That night, the son confronted his mother. He had heard enough, seen enough. The girl had told him everything, not with complaints, but with honesty. Why are you doing this? He asked. She's not right for you, the mother insisted. She'll hold you back. No, he said quietly. You're afraid she won't need what you taught me to value. The words cut deep. The final attempt came days later, when the mother arranged for information about the girl's background to be, accidentally, revealed at a gathering. Old debts. A modest childhood. Nothing scandalous, but enough to humiliate. The reaction was not what she expected. People listened, then moved on. Some even defended the girl. And when the son stood beside his fiancée and spoke, firmly, publicly, the illusion of control the mother had always relied on shattered. I'm proud of where she comes from, he said. It made her who she is. The wealthy woman felt something unfamiliar rise in her chest. Not anger, not pride, but fear. Fear of losing him. Later, alone in her room, surrounded by everything she had built, she finally understood the truth she had resisted. All her life, she had fought her way up, believing softness was weakness, simplicity was failure. And now, standing at the edge of losing her son, she saw that the girl she had tried to break possessed something she herself had lost along the way. The next morning, she asked to see the girl. There were no sharp words this time. No tests. Just a long look, searching and tired. I don't understand you, the wealthy woman admitted. You don't have to, the girl replied. You just have to trust your son. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was the beginning of a choice. And for the first time, the wealthy woman wondered whether true wealth had nothing to do with what you owned, but with what you were willing to let into your heart. She noticed the girl the moment she stepped through the tall glass doors, and the thought came sharp and cruel, almost amusing in its certainty. She might as well have worn bast shoes. The wealthy woman did not let a single flicker of that judgment reach her face. Her smile was flawless, practiced over years of charity galas, negotiations, and carefully staged family dinners. To anyone watching, she looked like a gracious hostess welcoming a future daughter-in-law. Inside, she was already dismissing the girl as a temporary inconvenience. The girl stood beside her son, not clinging to his arm, not hiding behind him either. Her posture was straight but relaxed, her hands folded loosely in front of her. She wore a simple dress, neat and clean, without the kind of brand markers the wealthy woman instantly recognized on other women. No diamonds glittered at her ears, no watch flashed quiet status. The girl looked around the spacious hall with open curiosity, her gaze lingering on a landscape painting, then drifting upward toward the sweeping staircase. There was no hunger in her eyes. No calculation. That, oddly, unsettled the woman more than envy would have. This is my mother, her son said, his voice warm, hopeful in a way she had not heard since he was younger. The girl smiled, and the smile was unguarded. I'm very glad to finally meet you, she said. Her voice was steady, not overly polite, not timid. The wealthy woman leaned in and brushed the air near the girl's cheek in a kiss that carried no warmth. As she pulled back, she studied her more closely. Clear eyes. Hands that looked used to work, though the nails were clean and trimmed. A quiet confidence that did not come from privilege. The verdict was immediate and absolute. This girl did not belong in their world. Dinner was served that evening at the long table polished to a mirror shine. Crystal glasses caught the light, and the silverware was arranged with ceremonial precision. The wealthy woman sat at the head of the table, her son and his fiancée to her right. She guided the conversation with effortless control, steering it toward topics that had always separated insiders from outsiders. So, she said lightly, lifting her glass, did your parents travel much when you were a child? The girl did not hesitate. No, she answered. We couldn't afford it. But my mother loved books. We traveled through stories instead. The answer was not apologetic. It was factual, almost fond. The wealthy woman paused, surprised despite herself. She had expected embarrassment, perhaps a nervous laugh. Instead, she found herself looking into eyes that did not flinch. And your education? She pressed, smiling thinly. I studied at a public university, the girl said. I worked while I studied. It took longer, but I learned a lot that way. The son reached for the girl's hand under the table. The wealthy woman noticed. Her jaw tightened slightly. Throughout the meal, she made careful remarks about how difficult it was to maintain a certain standard, about how people could be unforgiving if one failed to meet expectations. Each sentence was a small blade, wrapped in silk. She watched closely, waiting for the girl to falter. But the girl listened. She asked questions. She did not pretend to share experiences she hadn't had, nor did she shrink from admitting what she didn't know. When she laughed, it was quiet and genuine, never forced. After dinner, when the girl excused herself, the wealthy woman leaned toward her son, lowering her voice. Love is important, she said. But marriage is not a fairy tale. He looked at her, his expression guarded. I know exactly what it is. I'm only concerned about your future, she replied. So am I, he said. That's why I chose her. The words stung more than she expected. She had always believed she knew what was best for him. Hadn't she built this world for him to inherit? In the following weeks, she increased her efforts. Invitations were sent, carefully curated events where the girl would be surrounded by people who measured worth in quiet glances and unspoken hierarchies. At a garden party, a woman with a soft laugh and sharp eyes asked the girl where she had bought her dress. I made it, the girl said simply. There was a ripple of surprise. Someone laughed, uncertain whether it was a joke. I like sewing, the girl added. It helps me focus. The laughter faded, leaving an uncomfortable silence. The wealthy woman watched from across the lawn, irritation twisting in her chest. The girl was not embarrassed. She was not trying to impress. She was simply herself, and somehow that was enough. The staff noticed things the wealthy woman did not intend them to. The girl thanked them by name, asked about their families, listened when they spoke. Once, the housekeeper found her in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, helping to wash dishes after a gathering, unaware she was being observed. These small moments spread quietly, changing the atmosphere around her. The wealthy woman felt her control slipping. People were warming to the girl, admiring her, even. This was not how it was supposed to go. So she decided to confront the matter directly. She invited the girl for tea one afternoon, alone. The room was pale and elegant, every object chosen with care. She poured the tea herself, a gesture that suggested intimacy while maintaining distance. I want to be honest with you, she began. My son has responsibilities, expectations. I understand, the girl said. You come from a different world, the woman continued. This life can be harsh to those who aren't prepared. The girl met her gaze calmly. Every life is harsh in its own way. The wealthy woman leaned forward. Do you really think love is enough? I think love is where we start, the girl replied. Everything else can be learned. The woman spoke then of sacrifice, of how often she herself had given up softness for stability. She spoke of appearances, of how unforgiving society could be. She suggested, delicately but clearly, that stepping aside would spare everyone pain. When she finished, she waited. I don't want to take your son away from you, the girl said finally. I want to stand beside him. If you believe I'm weak, you're wrong. And if you think fear will make me leave, you don't know me at all. That night, the son confronted his mother. His disappointment was unmistakable. She told me everything, he said. Why are you doing this? She will hold you back, the woman insisted. No, he replied quietly. You're afraid she won't need the things you taught me to value. The accusation struck deep. For the first time, the wealthy woman felt something close to doubt. Her final attempt was crueler. Information about the girl's background was shared at a gathering, framed as concern but delivered with precision. The reaction, however, was not humiliation. It was indifference, and in some cases, respect. When her son spoke publicly, defending the woman he loved, the wealthy woman felt the ground shift beneath her. She saw then that she was losing the battle she had started. Alone that night, surrounded by luxury that suddenly felt hollow, she faced a truth she had long avoided. The girl she had tried to break possessed a strength that money could not buy. The next morning, she asked to see her. "I don't understand you," she admitted. "You don't have to," the girl said gently. "Just trust your son." It was not surrender. Not yet. But it was the beginning of something unfamiliar. A choice not rooted in pride, but in the fragile possibility of change. She noticed the girl the instant she stepped through the tall glass doors, and the thought came sharp, almost amused in its cruelty. She might as well have worn bast shoes. The wealthy woman did not allow a single trace of that judgment to reach her face. Her smile was refined, effortless, perfected over decades of charity galas, business negotiations, and dinners where every word carried weight. To anyone watching, she was the picture of elegance, welcoming her son's future wife with warmth. Inside, she was already certain the girl would not last. The girl stood beside her son, close but not clinging. Her posture was calm, her hands loosely folded, her shoulders relaxed. She wore a simple dress, tasteful, clean, modest, but lacking the unmistakable signals of money and status the wealthy woman could identify at a glance. No designer logos, no diamonds catching the light. The girl's eyes moved slowly around the spacious hall, pausing on the high ceiling, the paintings, the sweeping staircase. There was curiosity there, not greed. That unsettled the wealthy woman more than envy ever could. "This is my mother," her son said, pride softening his voice. The girl smiled openly. "I'm very glad to finally meet you." Her voice was steady, sincere. The wealthy woman leaned in and brushed the air beside the girl's cheek with a social kiss that carried no warmth. As she pulled back, she studied her more carefully. Clear eyes. Hands that looked accustomed to work, though well cared for. A quiet confidence that had nothing to do with wealth. The verdict formed instantly. This girl did not belong in their world. Dinner that evening was meant to impress. The table gleamed beneath crystal chandeliers, silverware arranged with ceremonial precision. The wealthy woman sat at the head, her son and his fiancée close by. She guided the conversation expertly, steering it toward topics that separated those who belonged from those who did not. "Did your parents travel much when you were growing up?" she asked lightly, lifting her glass. The girl did not hesitate. "No, we didn't have the money. But my mother loved books, so we traveled through stories." The answer was calm, almost affectionate. There was no shame in it. The wealthy woman paused, surprised despite herself. She had expected embarrassment, perhaps a nervous laugh. Instead, she found herself facing honesty without apology. "And your education?" she continued. "I went to a public university," the girl said. "I worked while studying. It took longer, but I learned more that way." The son reached for her hand beneath the table. The wealthy woman noticed and felt a tightness in her chest. Throughout the meal, she made careful remarks about maintaining standards, about how unforgiving society could be. Each sentence was a subtle test, a reminder of hierarchy. She watched closely, waiting for the girl to falter. But the girl listened, asked thoughtful questions, admitted freely what she didn't know. When she laughed, it was quiet and genuine. She never tried to impress, never pretended to share experiences she hadn't had. After dinner, when the girl excused herself, the wealthy woman leaned toward her son. "Love is beautiful," she said softly. "But marriage is practical." "I know," he replied. "That's why I chose her." The words stung. She had always believed she knew what was best for him. Hadn't she built this life for his future? In the weeks that followed, she escalated her efforts. Invitations were sent. Carefully curated events where the girl would be surrounded by people who measured worth in last names and unspoken rules. At a garden party, a woman with a diamond necklace asked, with a polite smile, where the girl bought her dress. "I made it," the girl replied simply. There was a ripple of surprise, a few awkward laughs. "I enjoy sewing," the girl added. "It helps me think." The laughter faded. The wealthy woman watched from a distance, irritation tightening her expression. The girl was not embarrassed. She was not trying to prove anything. She was simply herself, and that somehow disarmed people. The staff noticed things the wealthy woman did not intend. The girl thanked them by name, listened when they spoke, helped clear plates when she thought no one important was watching. Once, The housekeeper found her in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, washing cups and laughing quietly with a young maid. These moments spread quietly, softening opinions. The wealthy woman felt control slipping. People were warming to the girl, respecting her. That was not part of the plan. She decided to confront the matter directly. One afternoon, she invited the girl for tea alone. The room was pale and elegant, every detail chosen with intention. She poured the tea herself, a gesture that suggested closeness while maintaining authority. "My son has responsibilities," she began. "Expectations. I understand," the girl replied. "You come from a different world," the woman continued. "This life can be cruel to those who aren't prepared." The girl met her gaze. "Every life is cruel in its own way." The wealthy woman leaned forward. "Do you really think love is enough?" "I think love is where we begin," the girl said. "Everything else can be learned." The woman spoke of sacrifice, of how she herself had given up softness for stability. She spoke of appearances, of how quickly society judged weakness. She suggested, carefully, that stepping aside would spare everyone pain. When she finished, she waited. "I don't want to take your son from you," the girl said quietly. "I want to stand beside him. I'm not afraid of hard work, or judgment. And I won't leave because you think I should." That night, the son confronted his mother. His disappointment was unmistakable. "She told me everything," he said. "Why are you doing this?" "She will hold you back," the woman insisted. "No," he replied. "You're afraid she won't need the things you taught me to value." The accusation struck deep. For the first time, doubt crept in. Her final attempt was colder. At a gathering, information about the girl's modest past was revealed under the guise of concern. Old struggles. Financial hardship. Nothing scandalous, but meant to humiliate. Instead, people listened and moved on. Some defended the girl openly. When the son spoke, firmly, publicly, the wealthy woman felt something break. "I'm proud of where she comes from," he said. "It made her who she is." That night, alone in her room, surrounded by luxury that suddenly felt hollow, the wealthy woman confronted a truth she had long avoided. The girl she had tried to push away possessed a strength that money could not buy. A steadiness she herself had lost somewhere along the way. The next morning, she asked to see her. "I don't understand you," the wealthy woman admitted, her voice tired. "You don't have to," the girl replied gently. "Just trust your son." It was not forgiveness. Not yet. But it was the beginning of a choice, between pride and love, control and acceptance. And for the first time, the wealthy woman wondered whether true wealth had nothing to do with what one owned, but with what one was willing to let into the heart.